Hello and welcome to the Black Dog episode 358.
358. That's
Yes.
the same as a Magnum. Oh no, it's one above a Magnum. Shit.
It's bigger than a Magnum now.
Bigger than a Magnum.
It's a double Magnum.
Is it? So
like
is that
a mint one?
A mint
I was going to say, is that bigger than a Mivvy? Or
I don't know. Do you know who invented the Magnum?
who invented the Magnum?
The Magnum Ice Cream?
No, go on.
Mr. Walls?
Roger Moore.
Roger Moore invented the Magnum ice cream.
There you go. The more you know. It's true.
Come on, kiddies, try my ice cream.
No. Do you know what
No.
he did?
What did he do?
How did he get around to doing that?
Well, what happened was he used to eat a lot of choc ices, and he actually started putting lolly sticks in his choc ice because the choc ices kept breaking up. And so what he would do, and then what eventually he did,
Only James Bond could think of
he
that.
wrote to Mr. Walls himself and said,
Hello. I'm James Bond. I'm Roger Moore.
Exactly, and actually said it would be easier to eat a choc ice if there was a lolly stick in it. And sure enough, they did, and they gave him the nod as the inventor of the the Magnum. There you go.
Roger Moore
Invented the Magnum choc ice.
I bet he did. I bet he used to get it down his safari suit.
That's
quite a
why
bit.
he had the choc ice. thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there you go. More you know. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 358. I'm Lee.
I'm Darren.
Nearly got you with it.
I'm Elton.
And also, we have a non-gym, our stand-in gym for this week. We have two stand-in gyms coming up in the following weeks. But today's stand-in gym, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm not Elton.
There you go. So that's it. So we have Elton and not Elton.
It is indeed Joe and
Yes.
Emily.
It is
We're largely interchangeable, apparently.
well, of course. I think that goes without saying. So non-Elton. Hello, Andy. How are you?
Hello. I'm okay.
Lovely. So, yes, we're joined by Andy this week, and we will be talking about the movie Gattaca. But before that, we'll see how everyone's fortnight's been, because it's been a week and a bit.
Hasn't it?
And, we'll see how everyone's fortnight's been, and then we'll get on to a little bit of genetic discrimination. Genetic discrimination, the movie. Woo! And, we'll see how it goes. So we'll start with our guest. See, Elton? See, this is how it feels to be the sort of next one up on the rung.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
You get to get Andy to do stuff for you, like, send him down the DIY shop, ask for a long stand.
Well, it's what he does on most of the casts we do.
Moment. You can't see it at the moment, but I'm sat in Jim's wing-back chair.
Are you?
Really?
Yes, very comfy.
Yeah, you have to be very careful about that because basically, if it gets a sniff of your blood, it'll actually have you.
I kind of picture it as something a Father Jack would be sitting in.
No. It's more Roald Dahl Tales of the Unexpected kind of affair. I think sitting there, even though that wasn't really a wingback chair, it was just sort of like a lounge chair, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a lounge chair.
But anyway, enough
Deck
of chairs.
chair.
Enough of deck
chair from home base.
Roald Dahl's
Chair corner.
Roald Dahl's deck
Sat
chair.
there with his blanket over his legs, so you can't see his fishnet stockings and suspenders.
No,
How can you see this?
yeah, it was a.
It's Lee's camera that's not working, not yours, Ellen.
Oh, okay.
What? Oh yeah. Yeah, down to the blue oyster. Right.
Chicken brown
Anyway,
cow.
well, can you tell we've not done this for a week or two? Right. Okay. Well,
Aaron,
Andy,
are you getting sexy about chairs?
oh yeah, it's all about the canvas.
In fact, I think we should have some appropriate music. If we're talking about, if we're talking
Or
about,
is it the blanket that goes over the legs?
Hold
The
on.
tartan blanket, isn't it?
Yeah. It's what it's covering underneath.
It's that, isn't it?
It's the illicitness of the tartan blanket.
And the tray with the little cushion underneath to keep it level.
Oh, sir.
See, there we go.
Oh.
Hit a nerve.
Oh, sir. I feel. Oh, I've come over all unnecessary. Anyway.
oh, here we go.
Poor old unnecessary.
Oh, that's the old,
The old great whistle test.
Oh, yeah. Porn music. Talk about sexy chairs, Lee. Come on.
Oh, well, you can see you can rub your hands over the wingbacks. Then you get your hands and then you rub them around the long arms. Oh, yeah. Wipe clean cloth.
Let's talk about the boar's blood leather.
Oh, sexy bull's blood leather. Red and glossy.
Hasn't
Wipe
cracked.
clean. Never, ever tries a stain.
Hasn't cracked, but seen a few.
Buff that sexy material. Shiny in all the right places. Sexy bull blood leather. Anyway. There you go. Nice fade out. So, anyway, Andy, how's your week?
Yeah, fine. It's all good. Not as exciting as chair porn, obviously, but, I make do.
No sexy furnitures. No highly sexualized trips down to IKEA or anything like that in your week. No.
I don't think there's anything less sexy than trips to IKEA, if I'm honest.
Rubbing yourself up against the window at DFS. Sorry.
I've been known to.
Well, any port
It's
in
like
the
one of them
store.
stick-on Garfields on the window, isn't he?
I've got the suction for you.
Anyway. So what did you do this week, Andy?
Lazy boy.
Yes, I did Lazy Boys, obviously. My week has primarily consisted of two things. One is it's Comic-Con this weekend, so getting costumes ready for that.
Yes,
Okay.
I should be there too.
Nice.
Yes. So I shall be going as Captain Dallas from the Nostromo.
Nice.
Because, why not? And the other one is copious amounts of paperwork so I can bring my wife back into this country, which will be very nice. So that is my existence largely these days.
Okay.
Costumes and paperwork.
Costumes and paperwork. Just don't get the two mixed up. Don't turn up as a sort of immigration form at Comic-Con.
I was
And then
actually going to say, turning up at the immigration office with the dread uniform sort of thing with a lawgiver, that might be interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say, or sending a flamethrower through to the Home Office. That's probably not a good idea. Walking through their air ducts.
Oh, I'm liking this idea, yeah. Go for the air ducts. Little motion tracker going.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just see if you can get in. See if you can get all the way to the airlock. Anyway,
Well, better, yeah, just leave some eggs there and see if we can get a few facehuggers planted on Boris Johnson.
he probably would turn a facehugger off. He'd probably look at that and just like, I'm not putting my dick in that.
It's like, you know what? I'm good, actually, yeah.
yeah.
I'm going to go and crawl under this table and die.
Yeah, it's the first time you've ever seen a facehugger try and knock one out by itself, rather than do that.
Oh, it starts leaping towards him halfway through. He goes, "Oh no, baby!"
Yeah,
and then disappears.
yeah, back out, goes in tail first. Anyway,
So yes, that is largely my week. I'm afraid it is not as exciting as trips to DFS and the like.
okay.
But I'm looking forward to Comic-Con this week. I should be seeing Mr. Barnard there, I believe.
You certainly shall, yes. Along with Mr. Colin Jacob as well, who'll be joining me.
And a few other regular Black Doggers will be there. So
Indeed.
shenanigans shall ensue, which I'm sure you'll hear from Darren next week.
Yep.
Okie dokie. Lovely. Yes, I shall not be there.
It's going to be a bit touch and go for me, because if my back goes while I'm dressed in my costume, I'm going to be like the Tin Man from the fucking Wizard of Oz. I'm just going to stop.
What are you going as?
I'm doing the Deathstroke thing again. I've got
right.
some new gear for it now.
Shall I bring some silver spray paint if it does happen?
I think
You can just kind of-
if you bring a can of oil for me, that would be good.
Yeah, then you could spray it silver and you could go as Mark 1 Iron Man.
I could do, couldn't I? That's an idea.
If not, then just get naked, spray it across your mouth, and shout out witness.
Are we getting
Yeah.
sexy cosplay now?
Yeah. Sexy cosplay.
That's some wonderful paintwork you've got there. Yeah. Okay.
Hammerite. Anyway, so that's that.
It is
then.
largely because of this. Darren has to wear a mask to Comic-Con. So, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise,
I have to wear a tracking collar.
security would find out and then just have him.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
You've been warned, Barnard. You know what the restraining order says.
I know. Fucking hell, how boring is that now?
Yeah.
I'm getting bored. I'm getting bored of that restraining order.
Yeah.
I can't have any fun anymore.
So you're going as Rutger Hauer in Wedlock.
Yes, I
With
am.
that thing around your neck. Anyway, Right, okay, then we'll let's move on. Elton, how was your week, sir, or fortnight, or whatever?
Well, it's involved a bit of night work, which totally threw my chakras out on wonk. Really did.
Your chakras out on wonk. Did you?
Yeah,
say?
it did, man. It really did. And
Lovely.
also had some drinks which involved Darren, so I suppose we'll leave that until Darren's week. But yeah, night work. I have a newfound respect for people that work at nights.
Oh yeah.
Because well, I was working in a building 2 nights. I had the Monday off, worked the Monday, then had the Tuesday off, worked the Tuesday night, and then had the Wednesday off. But I had to go in early on the Thursday, and I was just all over the place.
Yeah.
And yeah, just in a foul mood for the rest of the week. It's just, I can do it, I can deal with it, but I wouldn't want to live like that.
No?
Nice place to visit, yeah, wouldn't want to live there kind of thing.
I actually found night working not too bad because I used to get Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and most of Monday off. So that was all right. I mean, you do start seeing things after a while as well. Too many nights, you know.
Oh, right.
But
I think it's nice as a little surprise.
Yeah.
But I don't think I could do that constantly. This was, it was nice not having the restraints of waiting for the office to phone you at the same time that you're actually working. But
right.
Once that disappears and that novelty's gone, and then all of a sudden you've done the day and you get to about 4 o'clock, you're like, oh, I've got to go work now. Oh, nuts. And then you're at work and everyone's asleep when you get in, and it's just, you still have dickheads on the road as well, just poodling along. I swear they just follow me around.
Yeah.
But, that was a bit painful. And especially when your boss turns around at 8 o'clock on the Wednesday morning, even though he knows I've got the day off, and phones and wakes me up with the phone. I'm like, for
what an
fuck's
absolute
sake.
twat.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
He just doesn't understand that, you know what?
What?
Coming down on the night shift.
actually, there's another very good song about night working. It's called Day Sleeper by R.E.M.
Yeah.
That just about sums up how you feel. It talks about how suddenly you just burst out crying for no reason whatsoever. I cried the other night. I don't know why. That's kind of the way it goes.
On the night shift.
But yeah, I've got a newfound respect for people that do that. And drinky poos with Darren as well. Yes. So that was quite amusing.
Yeah.
Watching Darren trying to make 12 o'clock.
Trying to make 12 o'clock.
Yeah. I was knackered.
Can I do this now, Darren?
Oh, fucking get it over with, you.
I try and watch him try and make 12 o'clock every fucking time we do this cast. I'd see if we can make him make 10 o'clock. Go on.
Imagine like we've got young kids and they've gone through the stage of, I'll try and stay up as late as I can.
Yeah.
Right. Imagine like a 6 or 7 year old getting to like 10 o'clock and going, oh, this is the latest I've ever been up. It's really exciting. And then they're going to, I'm going to really try my hardest to get to 12 o'clock. And 11 o'clock comes around. You can see them really flaking, but they're really enjoying their night. Now just transpose this to Darren.
Right.
And around about 11:45, he sat down. That was probably his biggest mistake, actually sitting down, because then he got.
Do you know, I was actually done by 10:30. I was just I turned to Rhea and I went, I think I'm ready to go to bed now.
Nice.
Can I be Horlicks and a digestive biscuit?
But it was around about 11:45 where you sat down and you're like, no, I've got to make till 12 o'clock.
I said, I'm not going to sleep until before fucking midnight. I'm at a party. I'm not going to bed before midnight.
You're checking your watch every 2 minutes. Is it 12? No. Okay, right. Still got to stay up.
What's happened to you, Dal?
I don't know.
What's happened to you?
I don't know. I think I've had one too many kind of early shifts.
You're just waiting for the slow, icy claw of death, aren't you, really?
Yeah, that's it.
That's what it is.
You should have seen how quickly he jumped up at 12 o'clock. It was like, right, that's it. I'm off to bed. See you later, all. Night.
Later, suckers.
Peace out, 5000 G, and he's out. Before you even got the nut of night Darren, he was already in bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like a shape of Darren, but in a cloud of dust.
Nice.
Like the Roadrunner had just run off.
Yeah.
I've no idea what the fuck was going on that night. Whether it was the amount of food,
wasn't it?
I actually the amount of food I consumed, because Tracy's like, I made stuff, eat stuff. All right. So it might have had something to do with that. The 3 packets of Pringles that I consumed, plus the 400 weight of sausage rolls, which are all very nice.
So me and Andy are going to have this problem with you tomorrow when we go and meet O'Deal.
No, not at all. I'll be fine tomorrow.
What do you reckon, Andy?
Well, I can't imagine it lasting much beyond 8 or 9-ish. But he will have had a late night tonight.
So that'll be his excuse.
I will be fine, but I won't be staying till late anyway, because
Okay. Okay.
got a way to travel.
I reckon his eyelids will be halfway down his eyes around about in 24 hours' time.
I reckon we'll be playing Buckaroo with him again.
No, you won't. No, I've got to stuff the alcohol anyway.
Right.
Yeah. It's going to be soft drinks for me all the way, I'm afraid.
Yay, cheap round.
Yay.
Right. Cool. Okay. Anything else, Elton?
No, that's it. That's it, mate.
Right. Just keeping Darren awake and night shifting. Cool. Okay.
Night shifting, that
Pretty
sounds
much.
like a superpower.
Yeah.
I've got the ability to night shift.
Night shift.
Sounds like a dogging move.
It does, doesn't it?
Really?
Lionel Richie song.
Well, I was going to say we've just done that on the Commodores, haven't we? No, night shifting wasn't that a sort of like a move Michael Knight would do if he's driving his car?
Knight.
That's what he calls it when he flew across the bonnet of Kit.
Yeah, that's it. He polished the bonnet of Kit with his arse.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, night shifting.
Night shifting.
Well, actually, it might be a typo. Might be night shitting.
I was going to say, it's not when he's had a dodgy curry the night before, is it? Kit, my ring's burning.
Anywho,
Too much information, Michael.
Michael, I'd really appreciate it if you polished my bonnet in another way.
For God's sake, Michael, roll down a window.
Speed stripes go vertically over the car, not horizontally, damn it.
Turning the seat to ice, Michael.
Yeah, my upholstery is Corinthian leather. God damn it, Michael. Anyway,
Can't take much more, Michael. Daisy, Daisy.
Anyway, Dow,
Yes.
how's your week? Fortnight.
It's been good. With the aforementioned, of course, consumption of drink in Yeldham, of course, at Tracy Kelk's place,
Okay.
along with Mr. Elton there and a few other people, and of course my wonderful young lady Rhea was there as well.
Why have you gone into night mode?
Because we're on the night shift. We're talking, and we've talked sexy. I'm trying to be
Do
sexy.
I have to fire the Commodores back up again?
I've also been watching Frasier quite a bit.
Hello, Seattle. I'm listening.
Yes.
Really, Niles?
A great episode where he nods off in the studio and somebody's talking about the fact that they can't sleep, they've got insomnia, and he wakes up and he's like, well, maybe you should just sleep on it. And she's like, are you taking the piss? So, yes. So this week, I have apparently perfected the caramel latte.
I think that's already been done. Are you going to reinvent the wheel next?
I've studied the art of making a latte.
The arse of making
The
it.
art of making a latte without 400 quid's worth of steam equipment.
Right.
And I've managed to make top class latte, apparently.
Hang about, I saw this episode of Blackadder.
No, it's not green. I've not made jewellery that looks like
It's green.
it's not, you know.
No, it wasn't that episode
No,
either.
wasn't it farting? Wasn't it farting in a
Aldrich
bowl of
Special
milk?
Brew.
Yeah, I was going to say farting in a bottle of milk or something.
No.
No, go
No,
on.
nothing like that at all.
So go on and share the secret, or are you not going to share the
No,
secret?
it's all over the internet anyway. Basically,
Really? You should have kept it in
I
the cup.
got one of those milk frothers. They are fucking fantastic.
Milk frothers.
Have you seen them?
No.
They're what it is.
It's called a straw.
No. They're like a tiny whisk, right? A tiny electric whisk. You stick it in a milk, and it froths that fucker up like nobody's business.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
And I'm just, I'm not sure Ree's listening, but
yeah.
Did you find this frother whisk thing? Did you find it in her side bedroom drawer?
No, I didn't.
Do you need glasses?
No, I mean she does have one, but for some reason I can't put an attachment on it. I don't know what the hell that is all about.
Doesn't really. It just splashes the milk all over the place, does it?
But no, I didn't find it in a side drawer.
Okay.
No, I actually did. I got it off of Amazon.
Above the cupboard?
No, not at all. It does take batteries, but it's
right.
It is just a whisk. I can assure you of that. It is just a whisk.
Has it got a nice, pretty rabbit on the side?
No, it hasn't. No ears. No, nothing like that. It's not ribbed for your pleasure or anything. Okay, it's just a standard milk frother. I'm frothing milk.
That's that recording of Jim just saying euphemism.
I know. We need Jim to sort of dial in from Australia and go, well, what? Yeah. Euphemism. It's 3:00 in the morning.
It's a spider!
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. So that was my ears. Anyway, so you got your frother.
I got my frother, and I've made So I've combination, did it perfectly, fantastic. I am so that's made Ree very, very happy, and extra points with that.
Right. Okay.
So that's good. What else did we do this week? I'm just trying to think of anything that's noteworthy.
Oh, I'll take that as a no then.
Mentioning. Let's see. What did I watch this week? Did I watch anything? Oh, I started watching Brooklyn 99.
Yes, Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah. So I thought, okay, I've seen bits and bobs before. Never actually sat and watched a whole entire series, but and I watched a clip show of it. Some of like the opening bits and bobs, which were fucking funny. So I've started watching it now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really love it. I'm about 9-10 episodes into the first season.
Yeah.
Fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
There's a great episode with Stacey Keach in it where he turns up as an old as a reporter who wrote this book in the 70s about cops in New York during the 70s.
Yeah.
And
it's where he's standing there with the apple on his head going, throw a dart, I believe in you.
I believe in you, throw it. And so he throws the dart and it lands in Peralto's chest, and Peralto's so drunk he's like, I believe in you, throw it. So highly recommend that.
Nice.
Also,
I will second that. I adore Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yes, it's a great show. I'm really glad it's been kind of saved, and they're going to be doing a season 5 because I'm gonna just burn through that.
Yeah. So you haven't seen the one, my favourite episode, which is the one with the lineup.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen the one with the Backstreet Boys.
The Backstreet Boys lineup.
No, I haven't seen that. I've seen that clip though. I have seen that. Okay. That is fucking brilliant.
Tell me why ain't nothing but a heartache.
I love that episode as well, where the captain, who's quite emotionless, who's
this
always
is me
tops.
smiling.
This is me smiling. Yeah. You've made me that is quite honestly the funniest joke I've ever heard in my life. That one, it's the one where they're talking about how they can't read him, and it goes through all these sort of like he's really quite deadpan all the way through it until he gets to one of those. You've got the two really crap detectives.
Yes.
And one of those comes out with, I really couldn't read him. And he's basically the captain screaming at him. So, I couldn't tell. I didn't know what was going on.
You're fucking useless.
Why don't you just go home? Couldn't tell. Couldn't tell at all.
No. Cool.
So, Brooklyn 99, fantastic. One other thing that I've seen as well, a Netflix film starring Martin Freeman, a film called Cargo.
Oh, yes.
Which is about, it takes place after sort of like a pandemic, zombie apocalypse kicks off. And this is in the Australian outback. And this is already like the apocalypse has actually already kicked into effect. what happens in this is Martin Freeman plays a guy who basically he gets infected, and he has 48 hours to try and find someone to take his little girl off of him and look after her, because he's slowly turning.
Changing,
and it's like he's the only one there to look after the baby, and it's like if he doesn't, then the baby's a happy meal. I really, really liked it. I thought the zombies in this were really, really well handled.
Yeah.
Especially the fact that these things hibernate, and it's the way they hibernate is really quite odd.
Yeah.
They come out. They like to come out of the sunlight and stuff like this, but it's the way they deal with the sunlight. These zombies, when there's no actual cover, the way they make their own cover is really quite odd, but very, very effective.
Cool.
So, if anybody wants to watch it, it's called Cargo, and it's only just come out on
Amazon.
Netflix.
Oh, yeah, Netflix. That's right, yeah.
On Netflix
Cool.
there.
Excellent. Right.
Okay, so just one other thing.
Yep.
And this is on YouTube.
Right.
I don't watch that many people playing games and commenting on them as they're playing them.
No.
I mean, there's only one guy that I've really watched in the past, and there's a guy called Markiplier.
Right.
Who I've enjoyed.
Okay.
But this week, some time ago, I had this recommended to me by Laura, actually. It's a thing called Neebs Gaming.
Right.
And it's 4 blokes from Texas who form this gaming group, and they play things like Ark and stuff like that.
Right.
It's the Ark videos that I've actually been watching. They're fucking hilarious through most of it. Yeah, because it's just
they're really good.
They're having pops at one another, and it's kind of crazy shit they do when they get bored in game. Like they kind of, strip the characters of all the clothing and go ride up a pterodactyl over a volcano. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay.
That kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, have a look out for that. Neebs Gaming. The Ark ones are the ones that I enjoy. I've seen a couple of other ones. There is another one that Neebs does himself. It's GTA.
Right.
And he does the Angry Cop videos.
Right.
Those are very good as well.
Okay.
They're wrong. I mean, he's so wrong. They're
all manner of wrong.
Exactly, but it's the character that he's playing.
Okay.
And it's so extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Neebs Gaming.
Neebs Gaming.
How do you spell that?
Neebs.
Right. Brilliant.
And these guys are actually quite famous in the gaming community now. They sponsorship by, I think, Alienware and...
Yeah, most of them, get something like that. But anyway.
Yeah, but the videos are very well edited.
Cool.
As well.
Okay.
So,
I'll take a look at them. Excellent. Cool.
Ark is Survival Evolved, I think the game's called.
Right.
So, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, and the dog wants to go out? No, she doesn't. Right, okay. So, my week, my fortnight. Okay, let's do the quick way. Let's do the quick version. The quick version is saw Deadpool 2.
And what did we think?
What do we think of it? It's a game of two halves. The first bit of I say first bit, but there is the comedy, the fourth wall breaking comedy, and the comedy of the unexpected, and the comedy of his powers, and all this kind of thing, which in places was just unbelievably hilarious. I mean, I literally was sitting there in one scene, which I can't tell you because it's a massive spoiler, but I was actually in tears. Properly in tears of laughter. I wasn't expecting what was going to happen, and just it happened, and I started laughing, and then it just got more and more ludicrous, and then by the time it hit the end of that scene, I think I would have, if I was asthmatic, I would have needed my inhaler at that point. I just could not stop. It was just, and the thing is, there is absolutely no way I can tell you anything about it, because if I do, that will just totally ruin it. So there's that. The bit that's less successful is actually the story, where they try to give Wade a bit more depth. They try to give him a bit more backstory. They try to give him a bit more actual motivation, and and a bit more sort of grounding. And to me, that was less successful. not terrible, not but I mean, I've read there was a couple of reviews. One that was online from a guy called Chris Stuckman, who I look on YouTube, and he said the same thing. It's that whole thing of when you went to the first Deadpool, you weren't expecting anything, and it was super tight. There was not an ounce of that film that was wasted. Whereas in this version, where they're trying to bulk it out with and this is who this is, and this is this character, and this is his, Wade's motivation for this, and his, and as soon as they start doing that and they start slowing things down to try and incorporate that stuff, you're sitting there kind of going, get to the funny. I don't really want a story of redemption and surrogate childhood and all this kind of stuff. I want Deadpool basically lopping people's heads off, grabbing people's bums, and being generally a bit fourth wall breaky.
I really liked it, but I do have one slight concern over it.
Go on.
I think if you go and watch this film in a year, 2 years' time, half those jokes are just going to be completely gone. Like, won't make sense.
Yeah.
Because they're so...
of the moment.
Of the now.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that, actually. The jokes are very pop culture-y in terms of... In the first one, they're just kind of him just riffing on the fact that superhero genre in general. Whereas in this one... And there are some really funny ones, but there's a couple of jokes where you kind of, he's referring to something specifically that's like been in the cinema in the last few years, and in a few more years, if things change, no one's going to know who the fuck these people are or what the fuck that's all about. Or it's a bit like Shrek. When you watch Shrek when it first came out, you're like, that's brilliant. But then you watch, because it's riffing on all things Disney.
Yeah.
Whereas you watch Shrek 2 and you're going... No, now they're just including, Borat fucking cameos and shit like this that won't make any sense to anyone in a 6 months' time. And they're not all there, but there are a few. And so, yeah, it's not a bad film. I would definitely recommend seeing it, and if you like the first one, some of the gags and the fucking end credit scene, the post-credit sequence, is just beautiful. I just sat there like, oh my god, thank you, that is amazing, thank you. And so it's kind of that pendulum really swings. It's kind of like, on one hand you got some really great gags and really great humor and some fantastic action, and then on the other hand you've got this kind of slightly mawkish story that doesn't quite work with the character and jokes that are a bit too pop culture referencey. There's also like things of references to sort of like Rob Liefeld. There's stuff that's really hardcore comic stuff. So you sit there going, hold on, there's one bit and he goes, who came up with your powers? Someone who can't even draw people and can't even draw feet, and stuff like that, which
always standing behind a rock.
But he does actually say that about one character. He goes, who came up with that power set? Someone who can't even draw feet, and it's like, if you don't know who Rob Liefeld is, then that gag's gone straight over your head. And there's a lot of gags like that. Where it's kind of like you're sitting there going, yeah, you're going a bit too niche. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm making it sound worse than it is, and it's not. It's really worth seeing, but it's just... I knowing what I know now, I probably would have been just as happy to see it at home in the video, because it is a bit long.
Can I just ask, how did you... Because I've heard some good reports. How did you find the character of Domino?
Very well done. Yeah. I thought she was really cool, and her skill set of having the power of luck, which has this big thing back and forth with her and Deadpool, where she's going, it is a power, and he goes, it isn't. It is a power.
But it is. But
it isn't.
Not.
I tell you what, let's split it a bit difference down the middle and say it isn't. No, it definitely is. Well, it's not. But we're in the middle of a chase, so how's this power even cinematic? And you sort of see her sort of like somehow manage to luckily sort of like trip an entire car up, flip over her head, and she's running down the road, and it just misses her while she's not even bothering, that sort of thing. And there's some really cool stuff with her power. Just simply that whole thing of just things being so lucky.
Yeah.
She fights one guy, and this isn't a spoiler. That she fights one guy, knocks him on the bed, and as she knocks him on the bed, she's managed to knock him on the bed just enough that when a cupboard out of nowhere just falls over, just takes his head off. There's some and there's one or two gags that are a bit of a rehash of the old gags. That's the other one, but they're rehashed in a way that just. Well, it's worth it for Josh Brolin's face when he sees one of the gags.
And that's another one I was going to ask you about. Cable. How was Josh Brolin?
He's really good. He's really good because the thing is they play him so straight.
Yeah.
That against Deadpool.
Yeah.
That it really does work, especially with, like I say, the gag I was referring to, which is kind of a riff on one we did in the film before, but they go much more extreme with it.
Okay,
and there's
fine.
But it's just so extreme, and you suddenly get it's more. You're laughing as much about Cable's reaction, going, "We didn't need to see that."
Okay,
sort of thing, and it's so played straight. You're just like, "Oh my god, it's just amazing."
Bro, that's all I wanted to know.
But some of it's really good, and some of it's kind of not as good as it could have been.
Okay.
Bit too overindulgent in places.
I may go and see it on Saturday afternoon.
It's a good film to watch on a Saturday afternoon. It is a good laugh.
Good stuff.
But when you come out of seeing it, once you've seen, there's a mid-credit sequence, which is great, and once that happens, you don't have to sit to the end.
No?
No.
I thought there were, so there's only one.
There's two mid-credit sequences. One which is story-related, and one which spins off of that.
Got you.
And then you're like, oh, right, okay.
And then that's it. That's done.
Yeah.
Okay. No problem.
So there you go.
Yep.
What else? Not a lot else really. I mean, I finished Mass Effect Andromeda for what that was worth. So you can take that tonight.
Can I?
Yeah. Never bring it back.
Okay.
At least you've done it,
Darren.
Yeah, I did it. What else? Nothing really. I've really just nothing. So I won't bore anyone trying to make shit up. Oh, well, there was a lot of stuff going on with Bristol, but I won't bother with that. Oh, apart from the fact I do want my kudos points, Elton, because I asked for a cab, and the lady at the on the reception at work down in Bristol, she went, the cab's going to take about 15 minutes, and I went, oh, that's okay, don't matter none. And she
Did you say that?
Yeah. I went, oh, that's okay, don't matter none. And she looked at me, and you got this kind of weird side eye, like, really?
You're going there, are you?
Yeah, you're going there. Yeah, so...
My Mrs. Local Office for local people.
Yes, Tubbs, fetch me the broom.
You're not from round here, are you?
No, I'm not. But, anyway, yeah, so... Oh, and being in a taxi cab going back to the station with a guy with a Bristolian accent that's so thick, I think you could have buried into it by about 6 feet and still not found out what the hell he was on about. He was like literally, you know, and like that, no, and it's just like I just was staring at him for a whole 15-minute awkward conversation, and then
you needed Nick Frost there to translate for you.
Yeah, and I was just, super cop. He's a cop that can't be stopped, and he's not Judge Judy and executioner. Yarp. And I just sat there in the back of this.
Hot Fuzz?
Yeah, Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I just sat in the back of that car, just listening to this guy talking, and every time he laughed, I just went, yeah. He could have been talking about anything. He could have been talking about starting a war in the Middle East. And laughing. I still didn't understand a fucking word he said.
Could have been highly racist.
Could have been.
You're sitting there agreeing with him, like,
absolutely, because I had not a clue, not the first fucking foggiest. Anyway, so let's move on. So this week we're going to move on to our film, which is
can you tell me if in the next few days you get a sort of like a fucking form for your membership to like Britain's First or something like that come through the door.
Bristol First.
Yeah, Bristol First.
Yeah.
Just, let us know, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I will do. Yeah. Oh, I did
Front for the liberation of Bristol.
Yeah, I did have a row with Talk as well.
Oh, yes, your beautiful, beautiful conversation.
I won't get too into it, but suffice to say, anyone who wants to go on a digital library, just bear in mind that at some point, someone's going to turn that fucking library off or hand it over to someone else.
Yep.
And them not want to talk to you about it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I buy DVDs.
Yes, and yes. Because I lost an entire season of Archer that I paid for because this other system doesn't have it.
All right.
So I bought a season of Archer on Talk TV, Blink Box as it once was known.
Yeah.
And then they moved it to this Raccoon TV system.
Yeah.
And Raccoon TV don't have Archer. So now they've given me Raccoon TV Super Duper points, which are worth about as much as a fucking fart in a tornado, really.
Which are much better than Ratican Super Points.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
They're super duper points,
Exactly.
They're not just super, they're super duper.
Exactly. So,
You're starting to sound like Kanye West.
Yeah.
Scoopity-boopity-boop.
Super-dip-bip-bip-boo. I don't think Kanye West is a pub singer, but anyway, right. So let's move on. I'll probably have some mad flashback halfway through Gattaca and go, fuck, I remember what I was supposed to tell you about this week. But anyway, so let's move on to this week's film, Gattaca. Before I roll the jingle, have any of us seen this before? Apart from Andy,
yeah.
You've seen it before?
Oh, I've seen it before, definitely.
Okay, Elton.
No, never.
Okay, I thought I had, but I hadn't. So
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
I honestly thought I had, but then it turned out after about half an hour, I thought, actually, I've never seen this before. Anyway. Okay, I was just trying to work out what jingle to run. Okay, let's roll the mystery jingle. Hooray!
Ooh, we're watching a new movie we've never seen before. I'm buttering my nipples and waxing my ass. Roll up the Mystery Monica film. Roll up for the Mystery Monica film. Roll up
Masturbation.
for the Mystery Monica film. Roll up for the Mystery Monica film. The Mystery Monica film is waiting for us to hit play. Going to watch it today, what will we say? Hey Pablo, I need a heroin needle and a watermelon.
Right, okay, so Gattaca. Right, let's get on to the old wiki very, very quickly. Gattaca is a 1997 American science fiction film written and directed by Andrew Niccol, starring Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman and Jude Law, Lauren Dean, Ernest Borgnine, Gore Vidal, Alan Arkin, all appearing in supporting roles. The film presents a biopunk version of the future society driven by eugenics, where potential children are conceived through genetic selection to ensure that they possess the best hereditary traits of their parents. The film centers around Vincent Freeman, played by Ethan Hawke, who is conceived outside of the eugenics program and struggles to overcome his genetic discrimination to realize his dream of traveling into space. The movie draws on concerns over reproductive technologies which facilitate eugenics and its possible consequences such as technological developments for society. It also explores the idea of destiny and the way in which it can and does govern lives, and characters in Gattaca continually battle both society and with themselves to find their place in the world and are destined to be something other than what they are according to their genes. The film title is based on GATC, which stands for gangrene, adenine, thymine, and cysteine, or cytosine, which are the 4 nuclear bases of DNA. So easy, you could have just said DNA. And it was nominated for a 1997 Academy Awards for Best Art Direction. However, the film has become a cult after... How much do you think it made at the box office, Darren? It had a budget of 36 million.
I think it made 70 million.
Okay. Elton?
17 million.
Andy?
I think it made 6.
Well, it's somewhere between the two of you two, Andy and Elton, because it made 12 million. It was a massive flop at the box office, and despite getting positive reviews, it gained a cult following. And yeah, a couple of little trivia bits. The FBI agents were called Hoovers, referring to J. Edgar Hoover. And also the vacuum cleaners that they were using to pull up DNA evidence. The film was shot under the title Eighth Day, which refers to a creation story which states that the Earth was created in 6 days and on the 7th day God rested. The original title implies the tampering of man with what God has already made on the 8th day. The Uma Thurman's character is named Irene Cassini, and Cassini was the name of the 17th century Italian astronomer who discovered a prominent gap in Saturn's main rings, and so therefore discovered the moons of Iapetus, Dione, Rhea, and Tethys. And the space mission is also bound for Saturn, so there you go. Ha-ha, which is, part of the thing. Yes, the public address announcements in Gattaca's operation headquarters buildings are in Esperanto, an artificial language. Wow. And most of the cars in this film are electric. Oh, and also Johnny Depp turned down the role of Jerome Moreau in order to make The Brave. So thank God for that. The film was mainly filmed inside Marin County Civic Center, which was also used for George Lucas's THX-1138. There you go. And yeah, we'll leave it there. That's fine.
There is one good bit of trivia you could use.
Go on.
It's a lot of their names have double meanings.
Mm-hmm.
Vincent means he shall conquer.
Yep.
You've got Eugene, which alludes to eugenics and stuff like that. The flight director is called Joseph and was an SS doctor responsible for a lot of medical experiments and stuff like that.
Mengele.
Yes, Joseph Mengele. And then you had Julius Caesar, as in Julius Caesar, who suffered from epilepsy. Mm-hmm. So it's just there's a lot of. I think this was Andrew Niccol's first film, and when you have your first screenplay, you kind of perhaps overload it with double meaning everywhere.
Yep, that's right. Well, definitely. Yes. Oh, by the way, there was a deleted scene in an alternate version that suggested the head cleaner, Caesar, has all along known that Jerome was Vincent. Which, to be quite honest, given how pretty much everyone knows Jerome is Vincent by the end of this film, isn't really an additional shock that we could go, oh my word, even the cleaner knew.
He does actually know in the film, because there's a bit where he helps him out. He says, shall I take that for you, Mr. Vincent, or Mr. whatever he's...
Mr. Morrow.
Mr. Moreau.
Oh, his empty cup. Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Anyway, right. Well, so Gattaca, it's an interesting sci-fi movie, a lot of interesting themes, but let's go over to our guest host, because he did say that he wanted to be on this one because it is one of his favourite films. So, Andy, what did you think of Gattaca?
I've only been bugging you for the last 3 years to do this film at some point.
Well, good things to those who wait and all that.
It's true, and even then it was like you forgot about that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, Swiss cheese brain.
No, I love this film. I don't remember exactly when I first saw it. I vividly remember it was on Channel 4. It was definitely in the late 90s as well, so it was probably its first terrestrial airing or something like that. But I've always loved this film. I love how it looks. I love how it's shot. It's got that kind of weird, nondescript, near-future vibe to it in how everything's... the cars and the dress is very kind of old and classic, almost a 1920s sort of feel with the suits and the clubs and everything like that. But like you said, the cars are electric. They have computers, but they're big old clunky clicking computers. It's just a weird kind of out of time look to the film, which I quite like. And I like as well that it's hard science fiction. It's one of those ones where it doesn't spoon feed you everything. It kind of sets up the conceit of the world, early on. It doesn't have to hold your hand while it joins the dots and explains everything to you there. And then it goes on and gives you, a rather interesting, mystery, something to overcome. There's a twist which isn't. Once it hits, it's like, okay, fine. But when I first watched it, I remember thinking that I go, oh, okay, that's just kind of well done, and I like how they've kind of connected Anton, the brother, being the investigator who's investigating the murder at Gattaca. I also like how it's a science fiction film. You've got the rockets launching all the time, but again, it's not overly CG and stuff like that. There's not a huge amount of, a lot of films, if you were to do this today, would have big launch sequences. And don't get me wrong, I love stuff like that, do a whole podcast with Elton about Apollo launches, but it's just this thing that's just out of reach, just off in the distance up until the point where he gets to go on it. And I adore the score for this film. I think it might well be the score which really made me love the film in the first place. I think it's one of Michael Nyman's best. It's constantly on my iPhone, iPod, mini disc player back in the day. It's just one of those ones. It's just a beautiful little piece of music. I love the entire thing. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of my favorite films. I'd say it's in top 10 for me.
Interesting.
I just really enjoy it. I think a lot of it for me, though, again, comes to when I came to it. I came to it in the late 90s, early on. Not to labour the point, but I was a bit younger then.
Yeah, all right. You're talking to three guys who are still reeling from the fact that like Empire Strikes Back is 38 years old today.
Fuck off! Sorry, that was just a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, 38 years old, for fuck's sake.
It's been 84 years.
Yeah. Were you even born when Empire came out?
Nope.
Fuck off.
Oh, up yours.
Who invited him on?
Yeah, fucking fetus. Welcome to the Grumpy Old Man podcast. Smash the young'uns! Get him!
Yes.
Fucking 38 years. God. I remember being in the cinema watching that.
Youth and vitality will never be a match for age and Semtex.
Anyway, so carry on, Elton. Sorry, Andy.
See, I told you we're interchangeable. Doesn't matter.
No, go on, carry on, mate.
I mean, again, I can sit here and fuse about how much I enjoyed the film. I love the performances. I love the cast. It's very understated. It kind of feels very much like you mentioned about THX 1138. There's definitely vibes of that kind of like 1970s science fiction, the sort of stuff we were getting before Star Wars kind of hit. So like THX 1138, like Logan's Run. Those kind of dystopian, because I mean, it is arguably a dystopia.
Yes,
that it's being presented here. Again, it doesn't. It's not like in say Blade Runner where you see, it's constantly raining and you've got these rundown streets. It just looks very kind of. It's very clean now, and on the surface, it looks like a world that'd be very pleasant to inhabit. But then, when you scratch beneath that surface, when you see it, and I like the way that we see little bits and pieces like this through the characters and through the side bits. At no point does the director decide to go, I'm going to have to stick a camera here and show you this so you understand what's going on here. It's stuff going on in the background, like when the other detective decides to just round up the invalids because, they're probably guilty of something. It's a good idea to round them up now and again. I mean, again, it's like they said, they've gotten discrimination down to a science. And it's also a film which I think it's not easy to say this is wrong because, I think in a position like what they're doing there, astronauts, I think they're entirely entitled to say, look, we want to make sure the astronauts are able to survive the rigors of spaceflight, not to have heart conditions and things like that. It's not as clear cut as just saying, oh, well, he's overcome it and it's fine. For all we know, the second he gets into orbit, Vincent dies from a massive heart attack. That's not the point. But it's entirely possible. Yeah. That's what happened.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I said, I could just sit here and refuse. I mean, if you want to go around and I can just, valiantly try and defend it from my corner.
It's okay. Why? You expecting it to get a kick in?
A little bit.
All right. Fair enough. Okay. Well, we'll see, won't we? So we'll move on to Elton. Elton, what do you think of Gattaca, sir?
Okay, well, in the last 24 hours, I've watched it twice.
Right.
And there is a reason behind that. The first time...
You fell asleep.
Nearly. I came away from it going, I get it, but I don't get the love for it. I understood that there was a cult underneath this, that people found it after it had already been released and flopped, and people, I think you guys have mentioned it to me a couple of times as well, that I should watch it or see it. I know Andy has turned around and said that to me a couple of times as well. And I've gone, as I normally do, yeah, I will do one day. And never really got round to it. And so I was quite looking forward to actually watching it this time round. And yeah, the first time I got it, I just didn't. I was missing something. There wasn't something quite clicking with it. And the second time round, fell in love with it. I thought it was really, really good. I feel I'm in my future watches that I will get to enjoy it more and more. I like that you have like a detective story running underneath this. It's also, I like the style of it, where I thought they were more like 50s clothing, but yeah, maybe 20s would be more sufficient.
Well,
I suppose.
The cars were the 60s.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the look of
But they're all electric as well, and they plug in as well. I love that.
It kind of reminds me. It kind of reminds me of Batman the Animated Series. It's this world out of time.
Yeah.
Where you've got these old looking kind of cars, because in the Batman thing, you've got those 1930s cars with big hoods, but at the same time, you've got computers, but then you've got blimps. It's just this weird little world out of time, which I love.
It's not our future, is it?
The
No,
game,
that's what it is.
Fallout's like that. It's it's like set slightly in the future, but it's as if the 50s never ended.
Yeah, everything's pin up and roller cola, isn't it?
Yeah, and stuff like this, and the music and that. But they've got like the robots and like the floating security droids and stuff like this.
And let's be honest, Blade Runner to a lesser degree, because it had that Chandler-esque sort of like 50s and 40s, 30s vibe all the way through, while everything's basically wired up the wazoo with retrofitted 70s computers and whatnot. Anyway, carry on.
That's right. But yeah, I liked that stylistic choice to do that, because then I think, we're coming up. I'm coming at it 20 years after it's been made, and so I think if it had been given any other sort of style, then maybe it would look dated by now, especially with like the keyboards and everything. But where everything is so disjointed, but in its own world, it works. Whereas now you look at films that are 10 years old, and you can still see the CRT computer screens, and you're like, whoa, okay, that's really dated, that. And it doesn't stand the test of time. But I think this does, because it has its own little world. It's turned around and said, right, okay, I'm here, and it is in the future, but it's off to the side ever so slightly big. It's got creature comforts from what you know, and you should like these, so they should fit together quite well. So I like that choice on it. I do believe it is like a dystopian thing, because it is just the selection, the way that people go around and select what they want from their child. I think it brings up a possible good discussion about that as well, whether that is a good thing or a bad thing. Not.
Well, when they're with the doctor, it's interesting that they're going like, well, we wanted to keep stuff, we would just we want the diseases cured, absolutely, we don't want any of those, but other than that, we were thinking of doing that. And the guy's like, well, look, you've done this, you may as well go to full hog at this point, because after that it's just a separation of degrees. So you can kind of see that's very, very hesitant at first until he brings them around to it, because it's just become normal for them.
Well, I can see why it would become a favourable choice as well. Because if everyone has gone down that route, then you do end up classing your son or daughter out of that high role in life, which everyone is striving for, really. and straight away, if you just have a normal child in this world, then it becomes like the runt of the litter.
It's almost like it's almost like the parents have been neglectful or done something wrong the way it's presented.
Yeah, but I suppose the parents could be seen as like they're like the hippie ones, aren't they? They're the no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the vaccines or anything like that. Let nature take its course. And then the second time round, they're kind of talked into taking vaccines and manipulating certain things. That was my thought on it as well. But I really, really enjoyed this. I felt that the cast on it works really, really well. You have like the three main people out of it. You got Uma Thurman, Ethan Hawke, and Jude Law. And I think around this sort of time as well, Uma Thurman and Jude Law, they were like on the rise, weren't they? They were, the up and coming big stars. And looking at them as well, they're almost like the perfect female and the perfect male, and they work very well as they almost look like they have been tempered ever so slightly. They've got like a satin finish to them, whereas Ethan Hawke doesn't have that to him. He hasn't got that glossiness. He's almost matte in his appearance, and you can almost see that he hasn't been genetically tampered with. But I think the actual choice of having these three guys run this show, I think it's brilliant. I think it works so well. And he was Jude Law was the robot in AI, wasn't he? And he had that sort of that superficial look to him in that film as well. And I think that comes across in this as well. He's a bit of a pretty boy as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, just slightly. But then a lot of that stuff with AI was I'm sure Chris Oster will jump in if she hears this. That that there's a lot of a lot of heavy makeup going on old Jude there to keep his face very shiny.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Yeah, definitely.
It's not just good moisturiser.
Yeah, but I like yourselves, was looking at all the other people the second time round. I think the first time round, towards the end, I was like, okay, yeah, everyone's kind of in on this and helping him along his way. Otherwise, there was no way that he would have made it through there. There's just too many chances for him to be scuppered. And it just so happens that he gets through all the barriers that are set up in front of him, so he can actually pass through and make it towards the ship. But the second time round, there's a lot of people just helping him along the way, and I get the feeling this might be a thing out there already, but that doctor that he first saw and he turned around and said, "Oh, have I ever told you about my son?" That's got to be the Jude Law character, isn't it?
Well, his son?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Do you not think?
I don't think so. And I also don't... I get what you're saying about the people helping him, but I definitely think if more people than the Doctor are helping him, it does kind of undercut his story. Yeah. In so much as he hasn't then achieved it himself. He hasn't tried hard. It makes sense for me with the Doctor knowing, because at the end of the day, he's pissing in front of him, but he's coming out of a fucking catheter bag. There's no way if the Doctor's there watching him, he hasn't figured that out.
Yeah.
But I don't think Caesar knew, and I actually think that hurt, because I think what Vincent would have probably done normally is taken that cup home with him or disposed of it as he would normally. But because Caesar caught him there, you can't exactly say, "Oh, I'm taking an empty cup." So he gave it to him. Then the Hoovers collected that bag, and that gave the second match to Vincent as the invalid, and then kind of reinforced the case that he was still on site. So I personally think the only person who knew, at least initially, was the Doctor. I think Irene then figures it out eventually, especially when she sees him standing next to Jude Law.
Yeah, fair enough.
There's one thing I just a question for you, Elton. So you said you'd like this, yeah?
Yeah.
I personally think this film is very noir. or certainly has noir elements. And you are on the record of not liking noirs.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
I was just wondering, did that enter into it at all, or did it not? Or
No, I didn't really. I suppose it has that time frame. I suppose maybe that's where it's from, but it didn't really come across to me as very noir per se.
I mean, I think when Elton refers to not liking noir, I think he's referring more to sort of like, stark shadows, detectives in flat hats hiding in the shadows, lots
narration
of
above it as
narration, voiceover, that kind of thing.
Oh, we do have narration though.
Yeah, not in the not in the
not
Mickey
through a
Spillane
big
maneuver.
cigar and a
She
whiskey.
walked into my office and sat in a chair. She rolled her eyes at me, and I picked them up and rolled them back again.
Yeah, she walked into the door and broke her nose. Yeah. The streets, the dark. Yeah, I am the night. Anyway,
There was something odd about it. She was missing a head.
Anyway, sorry, Elton. Go on, carry on, mate.
That's right. What I'll do, I'll probably get acid flashback because I would like to get into, who knew, etc. with you guys. But once you guys have all spoken about what you thought about it.
Okay, then. Well, then let's move on to you, Mr. B.
Yes.
What did you think of it?
You
have seen it before.
I've
right?
seen this before, yeah. And I got to say, thankfully, watching it a second time or third time, I still really like this film.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's. I mean, there are some bits and bobs in it, like some of the testing methods that. Had they pushed it a little bit further, it would have made it a lot more difficult for somebody to get through the net. And to escape. But glossing over that, not thinking about that too much, yeah, I really like the way the tension starts building up in this. From Ethan Hawke losing it the minute something goes slightly awry.
Right.
As in somebody that they find an eyelash and he starts panicking. And suddenly Jude Law goes from being this sort of nonchalant, literally, do I want to continue existence or don't I? He just doesn't he seems to take things as a bit of a joke to begin with. Of course, Hawke tells him off, and then he changes his tune. Where the murder's concerned, what I would have liked to have, maybe it's just me, but I would have liked for it to be, instead of the director, because this didn't make sense, there wasn't a violent bone in the director's body, but he still commits a murder.
But that's part of the theme, though, isn't it? It's that whole thing of genetics. People overlooking people because of their genetic profile. And people exceeding what they've got in their genetics.
True.
That's the whole point. He just goes, well, I'm not violent. It's just so my genetic makeup. Not, and everyone just goes, oh, of course.
Well, what I would have, I don't know, for me, and I don't know if it's anybody else that would have gone with this, but what if they hadn't actually had a definite murderer for this? What if the director kind of twigged what was going on, figured out Ethan Hawke's character was actually normal, but saw the whole thing going down the drain, so he implicated himself just to get the attention away from the mission, so the mission could carry on. Even though he knew Ethan Hawke never did it, the police are automatically pointing the finger at him because he's his
That's
DNA.
what I thought.
Yeah, it would have been nice. I think that would have been a nice touch had the director thrown himself under the bus, because that, to me, would have made more sense than him committing the actual murder.
Well, yeah. I've got thoughts about all of that, personally. But yeah, go on, carry on, mate. I won't derail it. Go on.
If there's one concern I have got about this film is, who puts the on switch on the inside of a fucking incinerator?
Yes. yes. There's a Something of a design overview, I feel.
Yeah, had they had a timer on the outside of it, then I can understand. Jude Law sets the timer, crawls in, shuts the door, thing goes off, boom, dead. But
Bing.
there's a button. There's a fucking
Well,
on
like
button on
microwave.
the inside. On the inside of the incinerator.
The Jude Law
Just-
9000.
The Jude Law 9000.
Your clothes are now dry.
Exactly.
Also, did that maybe burn down the entire apartment? So, assuming Vincent doesn't die of a heart attack the second he gets into orbit, he gets back and all of his stuff's just gone.
Well, more concerning was that the actual incinerator. I didn't realise it was an incinerator until Jude Law set it off. But up until then, that blue glass door thing had been doubling as the shower that Ethan Hawke sits in there and scrubs himself with. So he was
well,
sitting
he gets
in there.
so that he could burn the wax. You do see it actually fire up. There is a bit at the very beginning.
I don't remember seeing that or making the connection at least.
Yeah, he does that. But I mean, I can understand why he would actually do the body scrub in there, because it's easier to destroy the evidence.
Opening part, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, but but again, there's no when you've got no context for it in the beginning of the film, you've got no idea what the fuck's going on, and then all of a sudden it's like, then you're supposed to come right back to it at the very end and go, oh, it was an incinerator. It wasn't a shower he was sitting in there scrubbing himself down with.
No, I saw the thing getting operated, so you did see.
It's after the titles, isn't it?
Yeah,
When he gets out.
you see that actually being used. Where the technology is concerned, I think it's really great the way that it's in the future and it's not. The way the technology is very retro, so it removes any need for massive CG, anything like that.
Well,
it's
it was
very
90
underplayed.
96, so CG was still pretty much in its infancy, really, as far as good CG is concerned.
Exactly, but it didn't need it. It
No.
was more telling the story of this murder mystery, and will this person get caught? This cat and mouse game that Ethan Hawke has to actually play, trying to stay one ahead of the police. Like the whole thing where he goes in and they say, well, you're going to have stuff taken straight from the vein, and it's that the way he covers that up. The way that, he says, "Oh, fucking hell, what you doing, Doc? You've stuck me wrong with the needle. Ow, what you doing? You wouldn't think that you've been doing this for years," and then swaps the needle over.
Yeah. Sorry, we were all a little distracted by what sounds like...
I think there's two cats fighting in your kitchen.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Nice.
Might need to shut the door.
Let's go and have a look, shall we?
Yeah.
A little pause.
There will now be a short intermission.
Right, okay, we're back. That was that. No cat blood all over the inside of my kitchen.
No?
That's good.
Okay.
So anyway, carry on.
Yeah, so underplayed future. Yeah, I really like that. Although it was, I knew it was, it's futuristic, but it's, there's no definite time. They don't give it a year or anything like this. They get away with not having to say that, but you still believe it. And, as has been mentioned before, the technology they use, I do like the testers, the way they spark up like their old Valve TVs when they put the samples into them and bring up the pictures. I really like that.
So overall, the film, big thumbs up, yeah?
Yeah, even Alan Arkin's sort of like, he's genetically perfect police detective.
Yeah.
Just trying very hard not to overstep his mark.
Yeah.
But still overstepping his mark to get the job done.
Well, exactly.
Alan Arkin in this is really good as well. But then I like him in a lot of stuff. He's been very good throughout his career.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant. I really like the film.
Cool. Okay, well, as I said before, I thought I'd seen this film before, and then it turned out pretty clear after about half an hour that I hadn't. So I thought, well, fine, settle into it. Let's get into it. Let's deal with the positives first.
Mm-hmm.
The acting, very good. The idea, the concept behind it, awesome. And the score, as Andy's rightly pointed out, is really good. The Michael Nyman stuff is really superb.
Did it win an Oscar, that one?
I don't think
it
so.
won a Golden Globe, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
I do remember some award ceremony, I think.
Yeah, but I think 96 was kind of like a John Williams year, I think.
Right.
But anyway, so yeah, I think there's a lot about this that I like, and a lot about it that I admire. The way it looks, I mean, all the brutalist architecture and all that kind of stuff. The sort of idea behind it, the sort of like, you know, the fact that this dystopia is kind of, you know, boxing you up, and pretty much writing your entire life within like a second of the baby being born. You know, that's it. Right, we've sorted out his, you know, we know his problems, we know his health, we know his issues.
You even know his date of death.
Yeah, even know his date of death. Now, which he brings up, interestingly. He says, you know, I'm living on borrowed time. And so, on the one hand, the central idea and what the story's trying to tell you, which is you are not your genetics. There's more to people than simply genetics, is a good idea. It's an idea that's been explored countless times with things like Brave New World and all this kind of thing, and it's all, you know, you can put people in a box and you can qualify them and quantify them, but they will always evolve and do things that you weren't expecting. Will always get somewhere. Where it goes a bit wonky for me is, firstly, and this might sound like I've kind of rehashing the 2001 comments, but it's a bit cold. I didn't feel I was interested, but I wasn't emotionally engaged, and that was something that ran all the way through it. There was all this kind of stuff going on. There was all this drama, but I never felt at any point that Ethan Hawke was in trouble. I never felt on the edge of my seat like, oh, he's going to get discovered now. The closest we got was when they were going to do the thing taking it straight from the vein. And I thought, well, how's he going to get out of that? And like it's like with little or no, you know, fanfare. Turns out he's already one step ahead and knew that this was going to happen and had some blood up his arm and all this kind of stuff. And you're like, right, okay. So he's just that far ahead of everyone that there's not a problem. He's so obsessed with trying to get into space that he knew he's planned for all of this stuff.
All I would say, I would say for that though is if he, because I'm assuming there's been a number of years between him getting there and where we are today on that one. If you're living in that world where the very flakes of skin and eyelashes and all that can literally mean you're fired and kicked out, you'd have to be insanely paranoid and careful about everything you do.
Yeah, no, and that's not the point. My point was more that, you know, that he already knew that they were going to get tested from the vein, and that he then sort of miraculously had a vial of blood up his arm ready to go. You know, all part of the narrative, so that's fine. It's not really a game breaker. It's just what it did was it started to illustrate to me precisely how ludicrous it would be to try and actually fool this system unless everyone was behind you and helping you. And, you know, even down to sort of like, you know, the director comes in and sees him hoovering the fucking keyboard and going, you keep your keyboard really clean. It's like, straight away, that's like the most suspicious looking fucking thing you could have possibly imagine. It's like, really? You're gonna hoover behind your keyboard, right?
Which kind of did I actually mention? Yeah, no. About the director
being involved in the whole thing.
Yeah, but not actually doing the murder.
Yeah, I mean, the murder is almost a MacGuffin. It literally is it's dispensed with and dealt with so far away from Vincent for the most part that it very rarely intersects with the story of him trying to get it on with Uma Thurman and then getting into the space program. And then when it does intersect, it's like, oh, we found the guy. And it's like, right? Oh, that it then. It's like, da-da-da-da-da-da. Oi! And it's done. And it happens like all off screen. And so you kind of get this, and there's the director sitting there in a room going, fair cop. And that was the end of it. And so that felt like a bit of a weird sort of, well, if you're not going to follow that through as part of the story, then don't bother. If you're just trying to think of a reason to get the police involved and have it a cat and mouse chase with Ethan Hawke's character, then do that. And then what happens is, and this was where it kind of got me, was he was so obsessed with getting into the space program, and he was so obsessed about collecting every fleck of dust and all the eyelashes and the, all this stuff, that when he finally sees it and it's all in sight, he seems to go into this really weird, I'm going to scupper myself at every single step. Like, literally, you've got less than 5 days, and in those 5 days, he does his level best to fuck himself up in every single way, in deliberate form as well. And it just didn't read right. I mean, if it's like, oh, he's fallen for Uma Thurman and he's in love with her and that's why he's going to give it up because he wants to stay with her. It's like, right, you've been that obsessed and you suddenly throw it all away? To the point where he's literally pissing in front of the guy and going, like, well, there you go. That's me done. And people, and like the thing with his brother being the detective, not to be one of those, oh, I saw that coming from miles off. But as soon as that guy started sort of checking around him over and over and over again, I thought, that's the brother. That's the brother, because we've had this whole thing of the brother. And then again, it's the same thing of, for no discernible reason other than just to hammer home the point that the film's already done, which is you're more than your genetics, you're your training, your experiences and all this sort of thing. We have to have the replay of the swimming scene. And it's just like, and then what? The brother just goes, all right then, you beat me swimming. I'm not going to do you for fraud. Go on, in the spaceship you go. And it's like, and Uma Thurman twigs who he is, and the brother twigs who he is, and the director, we can presume, knows something's going on. And we see that, the doctor knows who he is. So pretty much every player, every actor in this film, every character that you see on screen knows who he is, with the exception of Alan Arkin. That's the only guy in the whole fucking film who doesn't know that Ethan Hawke is an invalid. And
so I thought he did.
Well, he knew that someone was there.
Yeah, but I thought that he knew that I felt that he was helping it along at the very beginning when he was first introduced.
What, Alan Arkin?
Yeah, I thought he was helping it along because he wanted to drop it. He was like, well, it doesn't really matter. And then the director wanted to drop it as well, but the brother kept pushing.
No.
So then he brought it up and was like, okay, well, fine, we'll run with it.
No, I don't think so. I got the impression it was the other way around. The brother was kind of like, we don't have to be in Gattaca. We can go search elsewhere.
Right, and he's also making the point that, given what Gattaca is and, the standards, there's no way an invalid could live up to those standards. There was no way he'd be able to function there. And that's the thing.
It hammered that point home a number of times, and I thought I appreciated it, and I understood what it was trying to do. But at the same time, it's like, well, we get it. Let's see him trick the system. Let's see him get round it. Let's see this thing happen and play out. But it seemed the film seemed to not know quite where its focus was. It's going to focus on the Uma Thurman Ethan Hawke relationship. Was it going to focus on the crime and the detectives trying to hunt it down, or was it on suicidal Jude Law and trying to keep him on the straight and narrow while Ethan Hawke tries to game the system? And each one of those things could have been a film pretty much in and of themselves, and the fact that they get mixed up kind of, I don't know, feels like they've lessened them a bit. Overall, though, I will say this is a good film. I did all those caveats, but I did come away feeling like you don't see many films like this. You don't see many sort of thought into the corners sci-fi. And I thought, overall, for all of its flaws, I appreciated it. Is it a film that deserves the thumbs up and endless top tens of its, that people say? I don't know. I can't possibly say. I mean, personally, I might watch it again, but I'm not in a rush to. But I did like a lot of it. I thought a lot of it was really cool. The only thing that I always have, which is the same thing I have with all these weird dystopias when they pick something out, like your I don't know, your Maze Runners and your was it the Hunger Games and all these kind of Logan's Run kind of futures. You go, how did it get to this? And it's almost like there's a better story in how does a society decide to go from real world to suddenly, oh, you know what? Let's judge everyone on their genetics and no one's got a problem with it. And
I think that would be a blink and you miss it type thing, though, because
really, I mean,
I think it'll become normal very, very quickly because it's keeping up with the Joneses.
Well, you say that, but you look at things like now, like when do you remember? Just cast your mind back a few years to when they were talking about having identity cards for everyone in the UK. Yeah. How did that go down?
It didn't
exactly. And even now people are still like, oh, too many fucking CCTV cameras, blah, blah, blah. And and I know it's science fiction, and I know they do these things, but like if you look at like the like The Handmaid's Tale, which is kind of doing the rounds on TV now. Mm-hmm. The first season was pretty much setting up how the world kind of slides into that kind of weird, nightmarish patriarchy kind of thing. And now the second season, you're where in terms of timeline where Gattaca, I guess, is, and where Mockingjay, Hunger Games things is. You've seen it happen in the first season.
Do you know what, though? I like the fact that you don't see it.
No,
I like the fact that it's concentrated on Gattaca, and let's think of this as like the upper class, because really when Vincent comes into it, he is the cleaner and he's looked upon as the lower class. Yeah. And kind of looked down upon. But then you don't really get a sense of what that world is. And sometimes you don't need to know. You don't need to look at it where it's come from.
No.
To make that story. But I quite like that they didn't, because it would be easy to turn the camera around and look at that world. And I'm glad that they didn't, because it gives you something to think about.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I like dystopias that don't actually explain everything, despite what I'm saying here. I just think that there's sometimes when they do dystopias, they're so extreme and so specific that you kind of go, well, hang about. How do you get to this point? There's got to be an interesting story in how you got to that point. In the case
I think it's telling because this is by Andrew Niccol, and the other films he's done, he did Lord of War, and he wrote The Truman Show.
Yeah.
And he also did, I think it was Her.
Anyway, no, that was Spike Jones.
Sorry?
Spike Jones did Her.
Oh, he did one. It's with a virtual actress.
Simone,
there you go. But what he seems to do is he takes a conceit, be it genetic engineering, war profiteering, reality TV, and then builds a story around that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's cool. I mean, like I say, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting there going, I needed to see a prequel to this. I don't. That's not really what I'm after.
Did you not get the visual dictionary?
Yeah, exactly. And the Wikipedia about the socks. No, I mean
there'll be an animated series coming out soon. Just kind of background characters.
Nice. I know. I mean, it's more a case of just like as soon as you start to think about stuff, this kind of very specific dystopia, you sort of go. You can almost take it too far. You sort of go, well, if you're going to live within these rules, if everyone's genetically enhanced, and if everyone's genetically made to be perfect, how is it that you've still got a lower class of policemen versus the people in Gattaca? How come everyone isn't just turning up at Gattaca?
Not everyone wants to go into space.
Well, or go into space in suits. In sort of top man suits circa 1935. I know. I'm not going to wear a spacesuit. I'm going to wear my finest bib and tucker. I'm going to have a nice
maybe that was what the parents were doing earlier on, where they turned around and said, "Okay, right, we want this genetic enhancement, and let's leave other things behind." And so that's where you get the police, where some of the parents would turn around and said, well, look, we don't want them to die early. We want them to have a nice life and go through this, but let them find their own way. Let them build their own personality.
Mm.
And, that's where you get your sections of society from that. And the ones at Gattaca that we're looking at, are the top 1%.
But you're telling me that you, as a parent, if you got the option to press a button and make your child one of the top 1%, you wouldn't press it?
You might not have the money.
Well, there's no implication that money's involved.
But there's no implication that
there isn't.
Not.
But there's also, on the flip side of that, exactly, we haven't been told if that costs money or not.
But then surely that would add an extra wrinkle into the world, isn't it? It's like, oh yeah, you are 50% genetically perfect, but that's because your parents worked at McDonald's. You could bring in all sorts of extra stuff into that sort of world. As soon as you start thinking, it's like I say.
Well, that might be what happened with Irene and the doctor's son, though. Maybe they couldn't afford to go to the very best geneticists, and so the ones they got were, a bit discounted. Because again, Irene said, Irene says, I have this heart problem, and the doctor says about his son, he's not all we were promised.
Mm.
So, I mean, I'm just saying it could be that there's a case there that not all geneticists are equal. And again, in a world like this, I could very much believe it's a case of where, money talks. And if it's a bit like you saw Altered Carbon.
Yes.
And it's that world where, if you're super rich, you can afford to have your consciousness effectively backed up every day. You're fundamentally immortal. Everyone has that technology, but if you can't afford the top of the line stuff, then you're just thrown into whatever body they've got for you there. It could well be the case that something very similar going on here, which would explain that disparity. Again, in a lot of dystopias, class and money still play a big part of it. When you see all the invalids lined up and you look at them, I mean, they just look like normal people like you and me. But in the context of that world where everyone has been young, fit, attractive, wearing suits, all of a sudden you've got a bloke with a bit of a belly and glasses, or someone a bit balding, and all of a sudden he stands like a sore thumb.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, like I say, this isn't really damning the film. I'm not damning the film. I'm just talking about dystopias in general when it comes to this sort of thing. But like I say, how do you get to Logan's Run? How do you get to THX 1138? All these.
I'd ask, how do you get to 2018 right now? Because I'd quite like to know to go back and just avoid that.
Yeah. Well, first you start off with an orange Cheeto. Then what you do is you spend hours trying to get him into. You spend him countless amounts of money just trying to get him into office. Anyway, so. Yeah, overall I liked it. I found it a bit sterile, a bit cold, but I guess that's part of the film's main aesthetic is to be like that. And that's cool. Would I go back to it again? Not for a while. Though I'm interested to see it again with a bit of context, but sort of after seeing it once and sort of watching it again. But But yeah, like it felt. I got to one point where I felt a bit like Darren did when you watched the second Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie,
which was
the whole thing about, like, as soon as you see Spider-Man taking his mask off, you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, everyone knows who he is.
Yeah, the film where he does it 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, exactly. And I felt very much like that with this film. It's like the police know who he is. His girlfriend knows who he is. The guy who he's doing the con job knows who he is. Everyone but Alan Arkin, who exits stage left after about 40 minutes of screen time. Everyone knows who he is. So where's the tension?
Well, I don't think everyone. I mean, personally, I don't think everyone knew. At least not until I think at the end of the film, the Doctor knows, and he's known throughout. Irene knows because he told him, and they've seen each other, and his brother knows because he's figured it out. I don't think the director knows. I don't think Caesar knows. I don't think Alan Arkin knows.
But the brother figured it out without even seeing him. The brother
figured it out presumably because he'd spent all of his life saying, "Gee, I want to go into space. I really want to go into space. Going into space would be great." And then when they get when he sees the picture of her for the first time, he knows he's there. At that point, he knows he's there. Maybe he committed the murder. He doesn't know. But his brother I think his brother's legitimately trying to protect him in the way he thinks it's how you have to do it. Because if you remember, the parents spent the entire childhood effectively telling Vincent that he is fragile. He has to be looked after. He's going to drop dead at the slightest gust of wind. And presumably that would have carried over onto Anton, at least to some degree. So Anton is trying to protect him in his own mind. Because I think he loves his brother. He just thinks to protect him, he has to take him away from there. And, because he can do all of these things and Vincent can't. Because that's what he's been told all his life.
Yeah, but, then we go back to that swimming scene, and it's like, do we have to do this again? We've seen it once already, I don't know. The thing with the brother just was kind of one of the biggest missteps, because I almost saw everything coming from a mile off. And again, I'm not trying to do that, oh, I can see plots, oh, I'm that clever. It was just that whole thing of, once the brother had been dispensed with in the initial flashback of like, oh, I beat him swimming and all this kind of thing. Once that was done, I thought that was the point that had been made. And that's the only point that needed to be made, and you didn't need to make it again. And then when he does run into his brother, and his brother says, I'm better than you. Why are you doing this? And getting really cross with him in Gattaca. It's like, at that point, that should have just been a conversation and been done. We didn't have to do we're going out to swim again and to recreate this scene because that's what we're going to do for, it was just...
But I think sorry, you go.
No, I was just going to say, I just think it was over egging the pudding. It was just like, we already knew the deal. We didn't need to see it again.
I get that, but I think one of the things that we see through both Anton and Eugene is they're told from birth. I mean, they're genetically designed to be able to do anything they want. There's nothing they can't do if they don't set their mind to it. When they do the valid and invalid tests, all the valids have got a little infinity symbol next to them, suggesting infinite potential, whereas all the invalids have got a little dagger, suggesting they're on the way to extinction. And if you've been told you can do anything you want, there's nothing you can't do, and then when you don't do it, you don't achieve it, well, you don't have the excuse to blame anything else. You have failed. Whereas Vincent's been told his entire life he can't do it and has overcome it. And I think if with Anton being beaten by an invalid like that, someone who entire life he's been told is inferior to you, cannot do what you can do, to have that, I think that would have a deep impact. And I think when he suddenly sees his brother has achieved, become an astronaut, gotten into Gattaca, has done all this, despite all of that, he feels he has to prove himself a little bit. And we saw what he did to Eugene as well. He goes into such a depression that, he ends up crawling into his self-immolation machine.
Yeah, the oven bake 5000.
Yeah, the easy bake oven.
Easy bake oven.
Yeah, so I think that feeds into the theme of it, where you're given all the opportunities and everything like that, and you're told throughout your life you can do this or you can't do this. To an extent, though, the film is saying that's not the end of a story.
But then the film's been telling you that from minute one, and that I mean, even the I never saved anything to swim back kind of comment, that was summed up by him running across the road to get to Irene to see the solar farm from Blade Runner 2049. So again, I don't know. I think it was probably because it was his first film or whatever, but it just felt a little bit over the time, all the time, overemphasizing certain subtext when it stopped being subtext. It just became text. It just literally became people going, "You're better than your genetics are. Why? How?" And repeatedly saying it, and you could sort of only take people explaining it so long before you think this is just Uhura explaining what the computer's just told her. But anyway, no, I mean overall, like I say, I'm being down on it. I know that, but I thought it was an interesting sci-fi movie and one that we don't get a lot of, and I appreciated it. But appreciating is not quite the same as enjoying, I think, is probably the best way.
Well, it's a bit like me with Ex Machina.
Yeah.
Everything about Ex Machina tells me I should like that film. On paper, that is a film made for me.
Yeah.
I cannot get on with that film.
No, and that's...
tried 3 times now. I just can't do it. So I totally get that.
Yeah,
I would love to see more films like this.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Can I just interrupt with a question?
How much wood could the woodchuck chuck?
Something like that.
Okay.
No, it's basically to everybody.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Do we think, I mean, this is totally unintentional, but if you watched this and then Brave New World, do you think you could see the timelines matching up? Because to me, this looks like the beginning of that society from Brave New World.
Yep. I mean, you could go one step further and go up to sort of like say, oh yeah, and in 5,000, 50,000 years time, Rod Taylor turns up in his time machine, and like everyone from Gattaca is now in the Eloi, and they're sitting.
The Morlocks.
And the Morlocks are all the invalid Morlocks are all in the basement, So from the time machine. So yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
Brave New World and. Time machine, and I mean they're all the same kind of deal, aren't they? Really, in terms of that sort of like we are genetically perfect, so therefore you cannot question us. Yeah, but then realizing that man is more than just a bunch of codes and it's that old Star Trek thing of infinite potential. An infinite diversity, or whatever it is.
Infinite diversity and infinite combinations.
That's the one.
I suppose there is also the moral question of if you start messing with things like aggression,
you end up with Jurassic Park.
Well, it's not only that. Is that being actually a human being, or is this a new species? Because you're not letting it develop naturally. You're changing it, so therefore it's not the template. Really, for a human being.
Frog DNA.
If I may quote Dr. Malcolm, you were so obsessed with whether or not you could do a thing, you didn't stop to ask whether or not you should.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, that is a big pile of shit.
That as well.
We must go faster. Must go faster. Must go faster.
But the Pirates of the Caribbean doesn't stop, and then the pirates don't eat the passengers.
And they've left the cab. That's chaos theory.
There you go.
The fact that we've gone from Gattaca to Jurassic Park in one smooth move kind of disturbs me. But anyway,
right. It makes sense though. A lot of genetics going on there too.
Genetic manipulation.
Exactly, but
Well, I'll bring it back a little bit then, if you don't mind, because I do want a question answered, if that's
why
right.
were there raptors in the kitchen?
No. I have two questions about this and a little thing that I noticed as well. The staircase looks like a DNA strand, which I thought was quite cool. That he was trying to crawl up on. The swimming thing that's going throughout this film. Obviously, Jude Law came second in his swimming race in the Olympics or wherever it was. I don't exactly know where it was, but it was it's a tiny medal, so I wouldn't say it was the Olympics, but it was a silver medal. And the medal itself had two swimmers on, much like the brothers going out to sea. Do we think the brother, I can't remember his name now,
Anton.
but Anton, yes. Do we think that he beat Jude Law's character in a swimming race and got the gold medal?
No.
For fuck's sake. Okay. And who killed the person that was murdered with the keyboard? Because I've written down who I think it was now.
Okay, I think the director.
Yeah, the director.
Because the reason they arrested him, he didn't confess. They found the director's spit in the eyeball of the victim.
That's right.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
And see, still, again, that to me sounds like that's like a plant. I don't think the director actually did it. Because as he said to the guys, look in my records, you won't find any kind of record of violence there at all. Genetically, I'm not predisposed to violence. And you look at the actual murder, and that is an extremely violent action. He busted a keyboard through this bloke's head, right? There are chunks of keyboard missing.
But again, I go back to the original point, the point that the film is continually smacking people over the head with, which is
keyboards.
Well, yeah, exactly. Keyboards. So, there you go. Just remember, keyboards. All right? Baseball. No, basically...
Fruit bowls.
Yeah, exactly. No, what it does is it's constantly saying that you are not your genetics. You aren't. But everyone's hiding behind them. And the Tony Shalhoub character turns around and says, people don't even look at the picture. They look at the code. They don't look at who you are. They look at the code. And you see that again with Uma Thurman's character when she takes the hair to be
sequenced.
To be sequenced at that weird DNA Tinder, DNA Tinder office.
Well, we have that now anyway. You can just send off DNA and get it tested now. It's like the company's doing adverts for this sort of service on TV.
Yeah,
But
didn't someone get caught for a murder years and years ago recently because someone in their family wanted to send off some DNA to get sequenced, and it was found out that it came back with a match for a murder years and years back.
Oh well, that would be quite funny, but I don't. Yeah.
Well, not for the guy who got caught.
I want to know if I'm the third Earl of Cheddar. writing off to ancestry.com.
I want to know what love is. Can you tell me from my DNA sequence?
Yeah.
Baby, don't hurt me.
Can I put forward who I think was the murderer?
Go on in.
I think it was Irene.
Oh, Irene. Come on, Irene. Oh,
I think it was Irene because she was grounded, and she said that the only way that she's going to go around the sun is on this planet. And she was removed from flight, and I think that she was a bit pissed and then killed the bloke.
So how did she get the director's spit in the guy's eye?
That is all a ruse because the other man, the director who took the fall knew about Ethan Hawke's character Vincent and was helping him along the way from the very beginning because he saw him hoovering up, and the way that he was talking to him and his mannerisms towards him were very much like looking after him. And I noticed that you're hoovering and keeping yourself nice and clean. And it's just okay.
You say that though,
another comment as well.
I'll go down.
Yeah, about the whole thing of that is the flight plan we discussed, isn't it? And it's the way he asks the question and the way that Ethan Hawke turns to him and kind of, that is. There's a message being passed between the two of them. there. It's like, why ask that question? What a strange question to come out with.
I don't think that was what was the case of that scene, because that was just after the invalid warning came up on Vincent's screen. And he's having a massive heart. He's literally having a panic attack because all of a sudden his face has shown up on all the computers. And all of a sudden the directors come in pointing towards the picture before moving it. I think that was just how Vincent was interpreting what he was seeing. And we're all saying about the directors being very loving and nurturing. I mean, he said a pretty, I suppose the term would be racist or genist line when he was speaking to the police when they're doing the training. And he goes, well, occasionally we have to hire some who aren't quite, upstanding. But there's enough of the right sort of people now that we don't have to do that anymore. And when he's talking about how no one exceeds their potential, if they do, we just haven't correctly assessed their potential to begin with. I think the only reason he's being friendly with Vincent or Jerome is because he shares his passion to go to Titan, because the whole point of the murder was because if the mission was delayed, it wouldn't be available again for 70 years. And he wanted that mission to go ahead. I think that was what was there. Also, if he is helping Vincent along, it kind of undercuts his entire story arc. In so much as, well, he didn't achieve any of that on his own. He didn't prove it was. Everyone was holding his hand along the way.
Well, exactly.
No. He did achieve. That's the thing. He did achieve it. He was academically assessed, and he was at the correct level for that. It was just that he didn't have the right genes to get in there to actually do the job.
Yeah, but then
he was academically in the right place. He just didn't have the right bloody DNA to get through the door.
But as they say, the DNA is the resume. I mean, again, what was the interview? It was the drop of blood into a machine.
That's right, but it's the other people know that is the resume. But then once they get him in there, they already know how clever he is and how well he will do.
Now, I think if you look at the people there, again, look at the types of people they've employed there. That they are. What's the word I'm looking for here? They're so uniform in how they're presented. I think that's a terribly racist world. I'm using the word racist, but I'm talking about genist. But that is a very racist world, and the director, I think, is very firmly part of that establishment. Presumably, one of the early, whatever the term is for once you're upresed or whatever it is, enhanced, homo superior, if you will. And, firmly believes in his and the superiority of everyone at Gattaca. I mean, he's beaming with pride at the people in Gattaca, not because of who they are, as opposed to what they are, of the right sort of people.
Yeah. I do take Elton's point that the director was helping out, and I do take Darren's point that the director's helping out. And I also take your point that if he's helping out as well, then literally everyone in this bloody film is helping Ethan Hawke, which means that Ethan Hawke's character is actually not really striving for for perfection despite his genes. He's literally being helped along and patronised from everyone along the way. I mean, the problem I have is that I don't. If the director isn't involved, then you've still got a good 75% of the cast helping him along, and that still kind of undermines the whole thing, and I don't know. For me, I think if the doctor wasn't helping him, if Uma Thurman wasn't helping him, and he did all this stuff with just him and Jude Law and Tony Shalhoub making the initial setup, I think Ethan Hawke's achievements as a character would have been a much stronger thing. Because, like I say, the theme of the film seems to be you're not your genes, which is fine. But then also it seems to be, you are, you're in a racist dystopian world. You'll never be more than what we say you are. And then another one is, there's a murder going on. It just seemed a little bit all over the place. And I don't know, I'm finding it hard to kind of articulate more than that, really. It's kind of like...
Too many loose threads.
Not too many loose threads, but too many plot threads. Too many plot threads going on where any one of them could either have been dropped or enhanced, but you kind of felt... I suppose it's almost a compliment in that I wanted more. I wanted the thread of the murder to be filled out a bit. I wanted the thread of the achievements that Ethan Hawke actually had to do to be filled out a bit. I mean, the most interesting part of the film for me was when he was doing the exercise with the heart monitor, and then he was going to have a heart attack because he was doing the running. And that to me was like, right, so now you're actually having to overcome adversity, and and it was throwing doubt into the fact that suddenly it was like, actually, even though we've been going, oh no, he's better than his genes, actually, he might not be. And it threw that little tiny doubt in my mind, and I thought, isn't that going to be interesting if he actually does succumb to all these things that they tell him? If he does become a manic depressive, if he does have heart problems, if he does have this possible suicidal tendency, and he does live to 35 and then he's going to cark it. Wouldn't that be really interesting even if he does succeed? I mean, because we're in a pretty bleak dystopian. We have no idea what he's going to be like when he gets back. But we're in this really bleak dystopia, and then what happens if it actually turns out that, the system is right? Wouldn't that be a really interesting film to suddenly have, if it's going to kick the legs out from under you and Black Mirror you, then...
I think it got close enough to Black Mirror when he called into the Easy Bake Oven. I think if you had both of them fail like that, it would probably be just too bleak a film.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying fail. I mean, I'm saying he gets through, but, like as you say, he takes off, he gets into space and has the heart attack. Or Uma Thurman ends up sort of like selling him up the river and going on the ship herself. I mean, anything like that would have been... I think what it is now I think about it, just thinking out loud, it felt too easy for him. He just went, I'm going into space, I'm going off to London to earn my fortune, put a backpack over his shoulder, got the town cat and fucked off to town. I mean, and next thing you know, he's walking into Gattaca. How's he earning the money for the suit? How's he managing to meet up with Jude Law and earn the money to keep Jude Law going? How did he meet Tony Shalhoub? How did these things happen? He just seemed to sort of like go, and then I met this guy, and then he gave me all his genetic material, and then I got this job, and then I was so good I made it all the way through to the end. Here we are. We've skipped 5 years. We've skipped 5 years of actual, like, proper getting used to all the routines. Oh, here we are at the very end. And look, I made it into space.
I do think this would work really well as a HBO miniseries.
Yeah. Oh, who's dying now? Who's being attacked now? Someone else's cat's going.
Cats or something, yeah.
Elton?
No, I'm good here.
Okay. Right. Anyway, so, yeah, I mean, I think as a HBO series it would have been fine. If they do what they do with The Handmaid's Tale, of just, like, trying to show you the progression of the character in a bit more of a methodical way, I think it would be a much better series than a film. Because then you do have the tension, you do have him struggling, you do have him making, against the odds. But in many ways, watching this film, he just goes from, I'm going into space, I'm not going to be what people say I am, I'm a janitor now I'm in Gattaca, now I'm going into space. The end.
Oh, I hear what you're saying, but I think you're being a little unfair there.
Yeah, maybe. But I just... At no point did anyone here, this is to everyone, did anyone here ever think that murder, which at one point looked like it was going to try and get pinned on him, did you ever figure that was going to make a bigger deal and actually get pinned on him?
Yeah.
Or did you think he was going to
I was going to say...
something was going to happen and he was going to get away with it?
Oh, I thought. Firstly, I think the murder is a MacGuffin. I do think that's not the point of the film at all. No. It's just what kind of brings the police into the site. But I mean, I thought it was going to be a case of he has to effectively, go into space, goes away, and it's a case of him escaping and just being able to get away. That's what I first thought when I first saw the film many moons ago. So yeah, I think there was a certain amount of kudo, especially when Anton takes Irene to go and visit Jerome, and he's not there. And OG Jerome has to crawl up the stairs to do that. I thought at that point, that was a moment of actual tension where the jig is potentially up. Not only from him getting up the stairs, but then when Irene walks in and sees him there, and we don't know at that point, is she or isn't she going to play along? And also, I just love the music score that plays at that point. It's just got this weird little. It's a very sad take on the main theme, where her heart's broken at that point because she realizes she's been lied to.
But okay. This is another point. Right? And I think we will have to wrap it up soon, but this is another point. She watches him beat up a policeman at random. Then she sees him go down a corridor, down an alleyway, drag her with him. Then he hears a policeman shout his name multiple times, and he's clearly responding to it, and he's going to say something. She then looks at him and says, "Don't say a word," and then they kiss, and we go into love scene.
She said,
"Don't say a word."
No, she said, "Who is that?"
Yeah, but
she heard the name. She asked him a direct question.
But I thought she was referring to the policeman.
No, and then he turned around and says, "Vincent's me."
Yeah, and then, but then she's like, but then it's like Snogathon, and then, so he's already confessed, and then we go another 25 minutes of that, and then she's upset because she's met Jerome. It's like, couldn't you?
But as they say earlier on, though, being a borrowed ladder is a particularly detested subset in that world.
There's also something else.
So when he confesses to her in the alleyway, why is she not pissed off with him at that point?
Well, because she doesn't know what the story is there.
But he's clearly not Jerome. He's actually turned
yes,
around.
but it doesn't mean he's the invalid. And again, there's something about suspecting down to the point of saying it and then seeing it with your own eyes.
Mm-hmm. Something else that I think we need to have a look at here. All the people that actually openly help him along the way, all have a connection to either themselves being slightly defective or are related to someone who's defective. The doctor, whose son isn't kind of perfect,
was not all he promised.
Exactly. Uma Thurman, who has a heart condition. Ernest Borgnine's character, who is the janitor. They're not perfect. They're not genetically perfect. These are the people that help him out. These are the people that know what it feels like. So, in a way, there's their motive for thinking, well, good on you. You've done this. You've come this far. Society, I can see, is wrong because I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like to be restricted for something I'm not to blame for.
But then, in fairness, Uma Thurman's character is a better character in terms of what the story is trying to tell you than Ethan Hawke's, because she actually does it off her own back with the genetic defect and everyone railing against her.
Yeah, but she's another thing is she's genetically manipulated,
but she's got a heart defect.
She's resigned to her fate, though.
Yeah, she's still better. And they did make the point of saying, the director actually did say about the whole thing of employing a lower class of people, a lower class of genetically manipulated individuals to get the job done. He did actually make that point. So you can see how she got in there anyway. But she obviously understands she's never going to in that society, she's never going to go past a certain point. She's still going to get higher than Ethan Hawke, or his character. If you were,
but she's done it off her own back.
Exactly, but she had an in anyway. She still lives a much better life than somebody who's not genetically manipulated. She still has better chances in life than someone who isn't genetically manipulated. The doctor says the more perfect you make them, the more advantaged they'll be.
Right. Cool. Well, anyone got any last thoughts before we wrap it up? Because I feel like I'm just going to be saying the same old thing over and over again.
No, I'm done on this one. I enjoyed it though.
Yeah, cool. Andy?
Oh, I could go on all night, but I gather some people have got to sleep, so...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Darren, any last bits?
No.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, well that was Gattaca. And a film about perfection which is slightly imperfect, which is kind of ironic. There you go.
Peel those layers.
There you go.
Peel those layers.
Not in an Alanis Morissette way either.
No.
Right. So before we go, let's tell you what we're doing for next week's film. Next week's film, we will be joined by Dave Probert as the stand-in Jim, and we will be doing a Patreon movie. As I mentioned before, we do have a Patreon, and we were having people pay to pick films for us. I have since stopped that thing, and now what I'm doing is the backlog of films that everyone's paid for. So we may open the gates up again at another point in time, but for the moment, we're just getting through the ones that we've already got listed down as back, and we are going to be doing Steve Murray's film. Is it Steve Murray? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. So it's Steve Murray's film when he picked for us Tucker and Dale versus Evil, which I love. So I'm just going to go around the table, see what everyone, who has seen this film before. Darren, have you seen this film?
Never
before?
seen this film before.
You've never seen this film?
Never seen this film.
Oh my word. Okay, right, fine. Elton, have you seen this film?
No, never.
Right, okay. Andy? I know.
Oh yes, I've seen it.
I was going to say, I know you're not here next week for this, but
no, it's about as opposed to Gattaca as you can get, but it's still absolutely amazing.
I think that's fair to say. It's as sloppy as Gattaca is pristine. I think that's the best way of putting it. Okay, so Elton, Darren, you know nothing about this film at all?
I know of it. I know it's about sort of like, a couple of rednecks going up against
the
supernatural.
Is that right? Cool. That's interesting. What do you think it's about, Elton?
What I've heard is it's a couple of rednecks going up against the supernatural.
Is that only because you just heard it from Darren?
Yes.
There you go. Thanks. Okay, well, I can tell you it's going to be an interesting one next week then, because anyway, so there you go. So next week we will be doing, I think, a newscast, and we will be doing doing the Patreon cast for this, which is Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Have you got fucking vampires in it?
No, there are no vampires in it. Let's put it this way: it's more of a hillbilly horror movie.
Go in cold, but you will love it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Trust me. If you've seen as many horror films as, say, like Jim or any of us have seen, and don't look it up in the trailers, for goodness sake, just go in cold. It also has Alan Tudyk in it, which is very good, and it was referenced in Deadpool as well. So
yeah,
which is quite cool. Right. Anyway, so. Before we get on to that next week and say our goodbyes, let's do a little bit of cross-promotional stuff. Andy, do you want to tell us about some of your podcasting wares?
Oh, well, I'll let Elton do the bulk of them, since I do most of my podcasting with Elton. But you can also catch me on The Great Derelict, which once long ago was known as Space Dog Jury in the before times.
Yeah.
And this week, I'm joined by Mr. Dave Probert, who seems to be putting himself about a little bit, but that's fine. We like Dave. And we're doing a chat about Blake 7.
Interesting.
He is educating me as into what it was.
Cool.
It's very good. That should be out this week sometime.
And where can people find that?
You can find it on Rogue 2 Media, and weirdly enough, it's on space.jury.com because I've not gotten around to changing the domain name yet, and on iTunes, and on Twitter, and on Facebook. Just Google The Great Derelict. They'll find it.
Yep, that's cool. And Elton.
You can catch me now I'm on the latest episode of Shonky Lab with Mr. Jim Moon, and we're talking about superstition. He was kind enough to bail me out of a situation, and we had a bloody good chat about that sort of thing.
It is a great episode. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good. And where can we find that then, sir?
You can find that on rogue2media.com along with all the other stuff that I normally do, and iTunes and the Facebooks and the Twitters and all that stuff.
We just did the last episode of From the Earth to the Moon.
Yes. So that is now complete.
Nice. Well done, sirs. Well done. Okay. You can find, just because he's not here to say it, I'm going to do it for him. You can find Jim's stuff, Hypnagoria, at hypnagoria.blogspot.com, and you can also find it on hypnagoria.com, hypnagoria.libsyn.com, I think it is, and also on iTunes and all good bookshops. He's doing Hamlin Book of Monsters this week, even though he's not even in the country, so what a man.
Witchcraft.
And finally, you can go over to the Black Dog Patreon. You can find it at patreon.com/blackdogpodcast. You can also find us on Twitter, which is at Black Dog Podcast. You can find me on Twitter at Cartoon Beardy. And you can find me on Instagram, which is also at Cartoon Beardy. And that's, and I'm also going to appear at some point on Dave, and there you go, he's here again, Dave Probert's, new podcast, A Happy Place.
The Happy Place.
The Happy Place, where I actually have to talk about 5 things that make me happy. There you go.
Hurrah!
Do you think I could even manage it? Well,
I would just say, that cast is really good. His first episode was great, so I'm really looking forward to listening to your one.
Yeah. It's you get points if you can get past 2 guesses correctly. I've asked 3 people what they thought I might say, and everyone's got one of them right, but not all. I can't confirm it on air, obviously, but you know.
I would say drawing or pens.
I'm not saying yes or no.
No, I'm just seeing if I can guess. You see, up until about a year ago, I'd have said Mass Effect, but I think that's tainted. That's tainted at this point for you. So,
skateboarding, airplanes, and Pornhub.
You've got one right, sir.
Well, I know it's not going to be airplanes or skateboards.
And on that note, I'm off for some private time. So, thank you very much to everyone for listening. Thank you, Andy, for joining us.
You're quite welcome, sir.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Elton.
Not a problem.
And good luck to Jim if he's out there listening, out in the merry old land of Oz, fighting deadly spiders and whatnot. And yes, and do join us on our Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/Black Dog Podcast. Right, that's it then. Thank you very much for listening. We shall see you all next week for Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Until then, take care. Tatty bye.
Bye.
Ta-da.
I should go.
You can't do that on this one. I can. I just did. Fuck it.
Oh, bollocks to it.